Your predecessor in a Trump administration, Secretary Esper, was asked and did use uniformed military to clear unarmed protesters. He was given the order to potentially shoot at them. Helos flew low in Washington, D.C. as crowd control. He later apologized publicly for those actions. Was he right or wrong to apologize?
Senator, I was there on the ground. I saw the
I understand, and I respect that.
I've been there.
But you're about to be the Secretary of Defense.
That was involved in that moment. I
was he right to? So he was
legality and the Constitution.
Sir, was he right or wrong to apologize?
I'm not going to put words in the mouth of Secretary Esper or anybody else.
He said them himself. You don't have to. What are you scared of? Did he do the right thing by apologizing?
I'm not scared of anything, Senator.
Then say yes or no. You can say no.
The laws and the Constitution.
Okay.
In any particular
Donald
scenario.
Trump.
Claire McCaskill, that was Senator Alyssa Slotkin, who had an incredible line of questioning there that probably taught us the most about what, if Ryan Noble's reporting is accurate, someone who is about to be confirmed because no one in the Republican Party is troubled, and I guess 4 of them would have to be by his standing as someone accused of sexual assault and someone accused by his Fox News colleagues as being drunk before his on-air obligations as a morning show anchor. But Alyssa Slotkin, I think, illuminated a lot of his views and positions on the kinds of orders that Donald Trump has said he plans to issue. Your thoughts on that line of questioning?
Well, she was a rock star today, and I think she's going to be a tremendous addition to the United States Senate and the Armed Services Committee. But what's really amazing about this, Nicole, is how ironic this hearing was, because they tried to trot out a narrative that somehow he was coming along to clean up politics at the Pentagon. And I want you to know the tape you showed at the beginning of the segment from the confirmation hearing of Mattis. I was there. I was asking questions. I was one of those 98 votes for Jim Mattis back in 2017 after he won. This committee has been an oasis of bipartisanship. This committee, when we would have markups, you could never tell by looking at the votes who was D and who was R, because it would be all over the place. It would be about the issues. It would be about policy. It would be about weapons systems and whether or not there should be oversight in certain areas or not. It was never about political party. And what this Trump administration has done, they had made this all about party. Never before in the history of our country has a Secretary of Defense nominee refused to meet with the Democratic members of the committee. I mean, that's unheard of. I mean, you talk about wanting to make the Pentagon political. That's how you make the Pentagon political. And what Pete Hegseth doesn't fully understand is the military is divided just like our country. And if they want to drive a wedge in the military, they're about to do it. Because they're not only saying that women are not competent, even though they sign up to lose their lives for our country. They're saying that other people aren't competent. They're saying all the current generals are woke and everybody's liberal, which it couldn't be further from the truth. If you spend a dime's worth of time at the Pentagon, you know that is no liberal bastion. I can assure you. I've spent a lot of time there, and that is not the case. So they have turned this into the most political confirmation of a Secretary of Defense in the history of our country, and that is bad news for national security.
Claire, let me show you what another one of your former colleagues, Senator Elizabeth Warren, confronted him with today.
These are your words from 10 weeks ago. Women absolutely straight up should not be permitted to serve in combat. And I notice on each of these quotes, those are said without qualification. It's not by how much you can lift or how fast you can run. They don't belong in combat, period, or your words straight up. And then on November 9th, 2024, just 32 days after your last public comment saying that women absolutely should not be in combat, you declared that, quote, some of our greatest warriors are women. And you support having them serve in combat. Now, that is a very, very big about face in a very, very short period of time. So help me understand, Mr. Hegseth, what extraordinary event happened in that 32-day period that made you change the core values you had expressed for the preceding 12 years? Now, I've heard of deathbed conversions, but this is the first time I've heard of a nomination conversion. And I hope you understand that many women serving in the military right now might think that if you can convert so rapidly your long-held and aggressively pursued views in just 32 days, that 32 days after you get confirmed, maybe you'll just reverse those views and go back to the old guy who said straight up, women do not belong in combat.
Claire.
Yeah, and this is where he had to get Joni Ernst. I mean, let's just break this down. Joni Ernst served for decades. She knows women's capabilities. She knows how she was treated. And she and I have had long conversations about it in the military as a woman who rose through the ranks and had position of authority and leadership. And so he wasn't going to get through if he kept the view that he clearly held. So he changed it on the charm offensive for Joni Ernst. Joni Ernst was key. It appears to me that she's folded. It appears to me she's going to overlook this. And here's what everybody needs to understand. Pete Hegseth is who you think he is. But that's what Donald Trump wants. Donald Trump tried a man that was competent with dirt on his boots. How dare him intimate that somebody like Jim Mattis has not been in combat or Lloyd Austin has not been in combat? How dare he intimate that? But they were competent and they were in command. They were respected by the people that they were going to serve with. But Donald Trump doesn't want any of that. He only wants loyalty to him. And if you noticed, every time he was asked would he stand up to Donald Trump, he folded like a cheap shotgun. I mean, he absolutely is not going to stand up to Donald Trump, and that's why he's there. He will not stand up to him, and I hope that at least other people around Donald Trump can convince him not to go down a path of abusing the Constitution and violating the law when it comes to using our military in ways that the founding fathers never, ever would have dreamt of.
David Jolly, I accept all of the reporting and all the political analysis about what happens next, but let's just refuse to let Republicans off the hook for their buffoonery. Instead of pretending that they were greenlighting and without any pushback or question or interest in the FBI report, someone capable, they asked him how many push-ups he did. And they coached him to talk about his children. They act like they were sort of green slime coated at a disco party riding down the slip and slide, not like they were U.S. senators.
That's so important. That's so important framing. So it does feel now like Hegseth sails through his confirmation, which is a remarkable turn from 4 weeks ago when the Trump camp was floating out 3 alternative names because Donald Trump thought Hegseth was losing and he doesn't like losers. But he also doesn't like to lose. And so once they realize that Hegseth is the guy, Republicans have circled the wagon around Trump's nominee. But here's why he sails through. It goes to exactly your framing. We have spent today at a Senate confirmation hearing watching Democrats try to disqualify nominee Hegseth. We have yet to see Republicans try to say why he's qualified. And the presumption here, this is not a burden of proof in a criminal trial where you're presumed to be qualified unless you're proven unqualified or disqualified. No, you have to prove your qualifications to the United States Senate, and Republicans are not asking Hegseth to prove his qualifications. The only organization he has run is a Koch brothers-funded veterans organization that's at the root of all of the scandals that have lit up kind of these derivative claims against Pete Hegseth. Nothing qualifies him to run a near $1 trillion department responsible for our national security. And I think in that lies the real danger of the second Trump term. We started talking about Mattis at the beginning of the hour. What is true about Mattis and true now about Hegseth is Donald Trump wants somebody from Central Casting. And Central Casting in 2016 was Mad Dog Mattis. this Marine, gritty, strong general that looked like he was out of central casting. And in the other cabinet posts, Tillerson and others, these billionaires, these executives that have run major organizations, the problem with all of them in 2016 is they respected the Constitution. And in 2024, central casting is somebody that's a Fox News Saturday morning host that doesn't care about the Constitution. It doesn't have to be qualified. But central casting is they look the part and they can speak Trumpism and this kind of paper dragon strength with nothing underneath. But Republicans today are allowing that nominee ultimately to pass through.